Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hey, everybody. Jackie Woodside here with another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast. Every week, I seek to bring you important ideas and tips and knowledge about how to live life more consciously, to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. So thank you for joining me again today for another episode of Conscious Living and the Conscious Living Podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about three particular areas that I think are really important when you're thinking about living more consciously. And those areas, don't turn off the recording when you hear this, but the three areas are, first of all, your clutter, secondly, your commitments, and thirdly, your consciousness. We're going to look at three important C words. I think too often today, people are living in a sense of overwhelm and scarcity about two areas in particular, and that is time and money. People are, I wrote books on both of those for that exact reason. Two of my books are on those exact topics, Calming the Chaos and Money Vibe, because it's really difficult to live an awakened life when you are constantly stressed out, burned out, and overwhelmed. So three of the areas that I'm going to talk to you about today, when you really pay attention and address these areas, it's going to make a tremendous difference in the living of your life. When you're not living in higher levels of consciousness, in transformation, and a sense of transcendence, when you're living in that vibe of survival and stress, you're really not living consciously. Living consciously means that you're able to observe and transcend your inner experience, no matter what is going on around you. It is not easy to live a conscious life today. Take that in. It is not easy to live life consciously today. Now, look, I know there's like a yoga studio on every corner, and people are taking meditation classes more than ever before. So maybe you'd be like, well, no, Jackie, really, people are waking up. But what I'm talking about is, just look around us, right? The information overload, the opioid epidemic, the actual decrease in the longevity in our world, because people are dying younger because of overdoses and suicides. Stress-related conditions, the number one cause of death. So anxiety and depression meds are being prescribed at higher and higher levels. And of course, climate change, the pandemic. We've got so many things going on today that are just making it more and more difficult to go inward, and more people are seeking out numbing experiences, Netflix binging, pornography, one of the highest industries in our world, overdoses and alcohol, the rise of alcoholism these last 2 years during the pandemic. It is a crazy ass time outside, which is why it's so much more important for you to really begin focusing your life, your moral compass, your inner direction on your inner life. Your beliefs, your emotions, your attitudes, your thoughts, your perceptions. Have your life be given less by what's happening outside of you and more by what is happening in your inner world. Who are you becoming? Songal Rinpoche, in the book of the Tibetan book of the Living and Dying, writes that our driven behavior consists of cramming our lives with compulsive activity. So there's no time to confront the real issues of things like purpose and meaning and calling. Our lives seem to be living us, to possess their own bizarre momentum, to carry us away. We feel like we have no control or no choice. It's a powerful quote from that book. And, I hear people all around me saying that it feels like, life is being lived through me, not that I'm actually living my life. I had a coaching client of mine say, I feel like I'm just being carried down the river of life. And it's this fast moving rapids that I can't get my head around. Conscious living means that you begin understanding that everything in your life and life itself, everything is energy. And you have to recognize the degree that you are self-empowered or empowering your circumstances. Are you self-empowering, empowering your perceptions, your experience, your belief, your attitude, your thoughts, or are you empowering your circumstances? You're always being lived by something. And I'll tell you, in these times, it's easy to be lived by resignation and despair and cynicism because our outer world is so difficult and so challenging. But there are things that you can do to make a difference in the living of your life, simple little things that I really believe will make a big difference. So let's tackle this first thing, an area that I feel really powerfully about, even though it's a really simple thing. And that is simply this area of how are you managing your stuff, your things, your clutter, your physical environment. It's really important because I want to go back to one of my first premises that everything is energy. So when your physical environment is in disarray and disorganization and clutter, and there's too much stuff and stuff is everywhere, as within, so without. Your outer life, your outer world is a reflection of the consciousness that you are living in. So one of the things I teach in my life design course is that bringing order to your external world is what I call the backdoor approach to raising consciousness. Because yes, as within, so without, but also as without, so within. So the backdoor approach to raising consciousness simply means that if you intentionally take on bringing order into your physical world, organizing your space, reducing your clutter, filling your space with things that you love and that have a high vibration to them, that is a way of also elevating your consciousness. There was a study from Princeton University at the Neuroscience Institute in 2011 that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that people are less productive, less focused, more irritable and more stressed when they are working in a cluttered work environment. I know, I hate to be the one to tell you, but we got to face the facts here. People are more stressed, less focused, less productive, and more irritable when their physical environment is in disarray. I worked with a coaching client years ago who was a prolific author. He wrote technology textbooks, and he had a contract for his fourth one. I mean, these massive tomes that this guy wrote, they were, 300-400 page textbooks that he was writing, and he had his contract for the fourth one and he couldn't get it done. So he was telling a friend of mine about his difficulty. He's like, I'm up against it and they're waiting for me. And, I'm going to lose money on my contract if I don't get this done. And my friend was really sweet. He's like, my friend Jackie, I think she can help you. And this guy was a total skeptic, total engineer guy who was like, never really gave much thought to his inner world, certainly did not think about the world through the lens of energy, but he was desperate. So my friend Peter gave him my contact information, and, we talked on the phone, and I said, I think I can help you. You might not like my approach, but I think I can help you. So I asked him to send me pictures of his work environment. And sure enough, it was like the madman's laboratory. There were just piles of journals and writings and books, like all of it, but 3 desks, around his office, 2 different computers, a coffee mug sitting on top of one of his stacks of books, and a window cleaner sitting on top of another stack. It was just, almost like you could barely walk through it. It was an absolute disaster. So I said to him, I know I can help you, but you're going to have to pause your writing and spend this week organizing your environment. And he was just beside himself. That's not going to make any difference. And I can't believe you would tell me to stop writing. You're supposed to be helping me. He told me later that he was ready to fire me, but he was so desperate that he didn't know what else to do. So sure enough, he paused. First day, he was just complete grumbles and, angry. Second day, not too happy about it, but he noticed a little shift. He noticed that he felt a little lighter. He felt a little more positive. He felt like he was accomplishing something. Well, by the end of the week, he had basically filled a dumpster with old journals and emptied out, tons of file cabinets and books that he wasn't using any longer, organized these enormous stacks of papers that were cluttered all over his office. And he sent me the after picture. And sure enough, it was well organized and it looked like a really great workspace. He got to work, engaging in that workspace. And sure enough, he was able to finish the book on time. So everything is energy. If you want to understand how to have a more conscious life, one of the things you can do is be conscious about the way you are engaged with your physical environment. Choose one area at a time. Just do one area a week, but bring order and harmony to your physical environment. Everything that you touch, do I love this? Does it have a purpose in my life? If not, it doesn't belong in your space any longer. We call our home soul haven. And one of the things that I really appreciate about it is when people come in our home for the first time, they often look around and say like, gosh, this place has such great energy. And I love that because I design it that way very intentionally. Create the vibe that you want to live in by bringing order to your physical environment. All right, that's number one. Simple thing to do. Not easy. Not saying it's an easy thing to do, but it is simple. And the principle behind it is everything is energy. So each thing in your physical environment has energy to it. And when your things are in disarray, the energy in your space is in disarray. As within, so without. As without, so within. All right, the second one that I want to talk about now, the second C. First one, clutter. The second one is commitments. Yes, commitments. Are you one of those people that's like a yes to everything? And yeah, I'm a yes to life kind of person. But I'll tell you, if you say yes to everything that comes your way, you will also be saying no to your peace of mind. And your peace of mind is where conscious living is really at. So when you're already overbooked, overwhelmed, have too much going on, you don't have time to fit one more thing in. And then somebody says, hey, do you want to do this? Or can you be on this committee? Or could you write this for me? Could you do that for me? And you're like, yeah, sure. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And you end up stressed out, burned out, overwhelmed, not good for anybody. So one of the most important things that you can learn to live life consciously is to actually place all of your commitments in your physical schedule so that when someone asks you to do something or you have an idea of taking on something new, if you look at your schedule and there's no physical room for it, that's a really good indication to A, say no, not now. I'm not going to fulfill on that. Or B, take something else off your schedule so that you can put that new thing onto your schedule. You know, we're living in an era that busy is the new rich. Busy is the new rich. And people get their self-esteem fed through telling everybody how crazy busy they are and how much they have going on. I don't want you to just be chronically busy. I want you to be engaged in conscious living in a way that you are meaningfully productive, engaged in activities that are meaningful and purposeful to you, that bring you satisfaction and fulfillment in life. You know, Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning says, it's not enough to live a happy life. We must live a life filled with meaning. And how you do that is aligning your daily activities with your values. So saying yes to the things that you value and confidently and comfortably saying no to those things that just, that might be fun, or maybe it's, a cool thing to do. But if it's not aligned with how you want your life to be, and if it's sending you over that edge into stress and overwhelm, then let your yes be yes and your no be no. I love the phrase, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to feel like you have to do that. Let go of all of that sense of guilt and obligation. Go within. Determine consciously, is this activity, is this commitment aligned with my highest sense of self? And do I have the space in my life, in my calendar, in my schedule for that thing? If you don't have the space, either take something else off or simply, consciously say no. All right, clutter, commitments. The third one I want to talk to you about today is consciousness. Consciousness is, I think, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that you will ever learn in your entire life. Nikola Tesla, a Croatian-American electrical engineer, once wrote that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, I find that to be a fascinating quote because Nikola Tesla was an electrical engineer, and he didn't say if you want to find the secrets of electrical engineering. He didn't say if you want to find the secrets of electricity. He said if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Our consciousness is energy, frequency, and vibration. In fact, my definition for consciousness is the vibratory pattern that gets created by your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts. I call it your beat, your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts, BEAT. Your beat creates your vibe that creates your life. So it's your inner world that creates your outer world. It is the vibratory pattern that you create through how you think, how you feel, how you perceive life that connects with the energetic matrix, the vibratory pattern of life. And when you have a low vibe consciousness of scarcity and stress and overwhelm and anger and jealousy and comparison and resignation and cynicism, when you're living in that constricted vibratory pattern, that's where you connect with life. And so what you get back is a lot of difficulty, strife, and upset in your life, versus living with this high vibration of love and contentment and satisfaction and contribution and peace of mind, love, equanimity, unity, oneness. When that is the beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts that you live in, that creates a vibratory pattern that connects with life at that vibratory level. I know this sounds kind of woo-woo, but I'm actually talking science to you. Everything in life is energy. Our consciousness is energy. And, a lot of people don't understand that. But once you understand that all of life is created through energy, by energy, as energy, and that you are energy, you can devote your life to understanding then how to master your inner world so that you're able to connect at higher and higher levels of life that create completely different outcomes. Let me give you a concrete example of this that I think will drive it home for you. Years ago, I went to one of those firewalk workshops. It was fascinating, wonderful, wonderful experience. And one of the warm-up exercises, if you will, for the firewalk was to break a wooden board with our hand. And it looked like a lot of fun, a little bit intimidating, but I was like, oh, this is like so awesome. And, I'm really looking forward to this. So, we went around the room and the instructor talked about you can't break your hand with force. You can't break the board. You can break your hand with force. You can't break the board with force. You have to break the board with energy. You have to see your energy being one with the board and your hand going right through that board. And I listened to her, and I was really into energy and consciousness, and I was all about it. And I was like, yes, I'm athletic. I can do this. This will be so great. So I walked up to them, saw other people doing it and was like really excited. And I walk up to the board and I look at it and I'm really excited. Like, I can do this. I went, whop. And my hand just sat there like, boom. Didn't go through. I was like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? And I was like, wait a minute. I know I can do this. I reel back again, whomp. Second time, I didn't go through. I was like, what's going on here? Everybody else, I saw other people do it. I know I can do this. Whomp. Okay, now it really hurts. Third time, my hand didn't go through. So the instructor looked at me. She could see that I was really defeated, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, a little scared. I was in pain at this point. And she's like, Jackie, you can't do this. You've got to let the energy go through you. Take a moment, see your hand, one with the wood, see your hand going through the wood. Relax, manage the energy, not your strength. I loved that teaching. And I literally could viscerally feel the energy in my body change. And I looked at my hand and I looked at the board. I took a deep breath. I recognized, no, I can't do it. But the energy of life moving in alignment with me, through me, and as me can do it. So I leaned back, gave a good whop, and my hand went right through that wood. It split in two as if it wasn't even there. I love that. I was not strong enough. But as I embraced my oneness with the wood, my oneness with the energy all around me, I was able to know success. I love that in the Bible, in Corinthians 12, chapter 9, it says, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. I delight in weakness, in hardships, in difficulties, for when I am weak, then I am strong. What I mean by that is not when you're weak, like, oh, I stink and I can't do anything, not that kind of weakness, but when you recognize that I, in and of my egoic nature, cannot succeed, cannot create the outcomes that are in my vision of what I want in my life. But when you rely on the energy of life itself, you are made strong. And when you don't, you are the cause of your own suffering. So changing your consciousness really means that you are elevating the way that you think and how you feel to match the energy of life itself. There comes a moment when you simply have to let go and surrender that there is a power within you that is bigger than you. The power of life itself that created the galaxies, it's created billions and billions and billions of human beings for millions and millions of years. That exact way, that exact energy can also create your life. I went out as a speaker in the 1990s to be a full-time teacher and speaker and author like I'm doing now, and I failed. Because back then I was me efforting and struggling and feeling insecure and unconfident of what I was doing and who I was. And when I went out again, my second time, 10 years later, to be a full-time teacher and speaker, I had grown to know that I needed to surrender my ego to the spirit living in and through me. That is where your power lies. You can feel that shift when you surrender your will, your authority, your power, your ego to, I know the way, I can make this right, efforting and willing things to happen. You can feel the tangible release of the struggle and the effort and the strife, letting go of the ego's hold as you turn yourself over to the power that is within you. So let me see what else I want to say about this. So let me give you a quote by an author back. He was a contemporary of Charles Fillmore, the Transcendentalist movement. His name is Neville Goddard. And he said, determined imagination, thinking from the end, is the beginning of all miracles. And I believe that imagination is a really important part of raising your consciousness, because imagination is simply, kind of the energy of spirit, the energy of life working through you to imagine what has yet to be birthed, yet knowing that you can bring it into creation through your thoughts, through your energy, through your willingness, yes, to act. I'm not saying sit back, think positive thoughts, and wait for good things to happen. I'm saying surrender your ego to this higher energy of spirit in consciousness so that life can work through you. When your ego is in the way of efforting and struggle and strife, and I'm going to do it, it creates this constricted energy pattern. It creates this constriction, like a garden hose that's kinked off. Nothing can get through it. That's what the ego does. Conscious living means that you can recognize your fear, your anxiety, your sense of insecurity and insufficiency, and just set that aside and let life operate through you to fulfill your highest passions, your highest vision for who you came here to be. So 3 things that I want to leave you with today. 3 ways to live a more conscious life. Master your clutter, your outer world, your physical environment. Bring order and harmony to the physical environment around you. As within, so without. As without, so within. Master your commitments. Stop feeding your ego and your need to be liked and approved of by saying yes to everything. When you're a yes to everything, you'll be a no to your peace of mind. Be conscious of the commitments that you make and let them align with your higher values and vision for your highest self in life. And third, consciousness. Elevating your consciousness back to the divinity that we came from. Oneness, love, peace, harmony. Just knowing that all of life is working and orchestrating itself for your highest good, and living from that place so that you can surrender all manner of efforting and strife and difficulty. As you do this, you elevate your consciousness and live a more engaged, conscious, productive, and meaningful life. So I will leave this with you today, knowing that it's not enough to just understand these principles. You have to put them in your life. So as you go forward this week, pay attention to the places that you're saying yes when you really mean no, to the places that your physical environment is in disarray, and to the places that you are relying on your effort, your ego, your will, your strength to create outcomes, rather than relying on the energy of life coming in, flowing through, and producing results as you. Thanks for being with me today for another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care now.